I wanted to tell you about a letter I wrote 8 weeks ago that never reached its destination, but I'd be getting ahead of myself. So if you'll indulge me, let me back up a little bit. Garrison Keillor once said in reference to memorial services that it's the one occasion when everyone in your life gathers to say nice things about you. And the tragedy is you just missed it by a couple of days or a couple of weeks. Like a few of you here, I knew Maggie as her client. And in the time I've come to know her, Maggie was my confidant and advisor. Someone I entrusted with my hopes and my secrets, my triumphs and my numerous sins. And even though we had the asymmetrical relationship that all client therapists have, she was always generous, sharing relevant elements of her own life. I knew the deep love she had for her son, his wife, and her grandchildren, and she spoke fondly of them in moments when our conversations turned to the topic of how to forge healthy family relationships. She had a quiet, wise spirit that was particularly comforting to wounded souls, and it was precisely what I needed when I first stepped foot in her office. When I first met Maggie, it was in one of the lowest points of my own life, recently jobless and deep into a well of depression from which I felt there was no exit. I remember our early sessions in which she'd ask me, "How was your week? What did you do?" And I would literally pause, stare into space and say, "Well, I saw you last week, and then I'm here now." Literally a week would go by and nothing would happen. From that low point, we built upon small victories, attempts, some successful, others not, to establish one healthy habit at a time until, by the time Maggie and I had what would have been our final session, I was serving as president of my university's alumni association and had just received news that I was invited to become a curator of TEDx, one of the most high-profile and respected conferences in the San Francisco Bay Area. My role with my university's alumni association was the focus of most of our recent sessions, and those conversations brought to surface Maggie's own relationship with her alma mater, Stanford University. She recounted with great amusement Stanford's assumption that all alumni of her age would be established, well-heeled high rollers, as evidenced by the aggressive advertising splashed across her alumni newsletter, showcasing $10,000 vacations to exotic destinations. "Clearly," Maggie said once with a laugh, "they've got me confused with somebody else. I'm trying to figure out how to save up money to attend a $700 continuing education class to maintain my MFT license, and they're trying to sell me scuba diving cruises in the Bahamas." And even though it was clear Maggie could have followed her fellow Stanford graduates into similar, high-paying careers, she chose a different, less lucrative path. I'd like to think that in the end, she out-earned her peers in many other ways and in many other coins. She certainly did so with me. When my life became a hectic whirlwind of meetings that interfered with our regular Thursday sessions, I recalled how graciously flexible Maggie was, opening her calendar to accommodate my constant rescheduling. And every time she and I rescheduled, my cell phone's calendaring program asked me, "Delete just this appointment or all future appointments?" To which I would click no, just this appointment. Every Thursday since, I've been getting an alert reminder for my appointment with Maggie. When I click to cancel it, it asks me, "Delete just this appointment or all future appointments?" I couldn't bear to do it. I think I'm ready to do so today. In fact, if you'll bear with me, let me do it right now. When Maggie's office first contacted me about her hospitalization, they were intentionally vague about her condition due to medical privacy issues, and understandably so. I was told she was in the hospital, and we expected to return in 6 to 8 weeks, and they had every reason to believe that would be true. When I heard the news, I immediately stopped by the drugstore next to Maggie's office and bought a get well card and dashed off a handwritten letter thanking her for being in my life, telling her how much her advice has meant to me, and apologizing for my bad habit of ignoring most of it. "But," I added cheekily in my note, "I know I'm not the only stubborn, advice-ignoring client of yours, so don't give me too much grief." Such was the nature of our relationship, and it was the sort of jest I envisioned would bring a smile to her face as she laid in the hospital bed, recovering from whatever it was that felled her. Of course, as you all know by now, she never awoke since being hospitalized. those jovial words never reached her. And now they stand, frozen in time forever. I've thought a lot about that letter in the ensuing days. To paraphrase my favorite US president, I sometimes wonder about the shyness in which those of us who are blessed with advisors and close family express our gratitude for their presence in our lives. This reluctance to acknowledge how much their support and love help ease the sufferings of our imperfect world seems so tragic in moments like this, when we realize just how much unspoken thanks we owe to those around us. Well, let us be shy no longer. Let us speak up to those who love and comfort us while they still have ears to hear, and let them know how much their presence makes a difference in our lives. Indeed, if you can think of someone right now you know you owe a note of gratitude, I have purchased 100 stamped thank you cards, which I have right here, and you're welcome to take one at the end of the service. My letter of thanks to Maggie went out too late, but odds are very good that the letter you write today and mail will reach its intended recipient. It may be strange to think about it, but there will come a day when everyone in this room will have a ceremony, much like this one, where our friends and family will gather to say nice things about us that we will miss by days or weeks. Let our ceremonies not be filled with regret of unspoken gratitude and unfulfilled promises. Let us do what we can now to make sure that our memorial service will be a celebration of a life well lived, well loved, with no regrets. I believe this is the best way to honor Maggie's memory, and I believe if she were here today, it would be something she would heartily endorse. Thank you.